some sort of weird dark angel. He's burying his chest. Some sheep. Mirror block A. E. Block A. Okay, got that.
Literally just. Oh.
How?
I need to ask Mr. Newfeld if he has any clues. I can ask him. Wait, Mr. Newfeld.
You're gonna ask me what?
Do you have any like ginormous clear Ziploc bags by any chance?
Why?
Because I'm going on the university trip and I need to put all my liquids in a clear Ziploc bag, but I don't
Oh.
have one.
Dylan, you get those at the airport.
Yeah, you
What?
can get them at the airport.
You
Yeah,
get them at the airport? I've never gotten them at the airport.
Well, that's
Dylan, that's what
If you, I am like running away to a variety of appointments, but if I am in the house, I might be able to find one somewhere.
Okay.
If you don't find something that works, and apparently they're at the airport.
No, they're always there at security check.
You can also just go to like the cafe off the.
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, because I've never gotten one there. I just use my liquids.
Okay, time to start. Notebooks out. Everybody dance now.
One of your science 10, science 10 tickets, and the clock.
Oh, look how beautiful it is. I updated it for this year.
I haven't read it yet.
And they've got color on the inside. Pardon? I'm not putting that one on there.
You read this book?
Maybe I could find one that was less sweary. Friggin'? No.
I found
Are we gonna learn about Haber's story?
I'm going to do a little bit of Haber's story. I'll recommend a podcast if you want to know more because it is fascinating.
Okay.
It is also thoroughly depressing, so that seems useful before you go on a break to have fun.
Is this the story you mentioned last year? You said you really loved Silver Twelve.
Yeah, this
So
is
I've
the
been
story.
waiting a year
Yeah,
for this.
you've been waiting a year.
Ooh, this
I
is
hope it
gonna be
lives
good.
up to the hype.
It's like Christmas. It's like,
We're Where are my chemistry notes, Mr. Yukon?
That I can't answer.
Why did he take his chemistry?
But I will to help you take off my shoes.
No.
Oh,
There you go.
as long as the dogs are.
Okay, we talked about the Haber process and what he had to do.
Wait, are we doing meat?
We know it's feeding approximately 5 laptops away. So, Sophia? Notes out. Everybody should have their notes
Where's
out.
the extra note package?
What?
The extra note package?
Behind you, there's extra ones if you didn't bring
Mr.
one.
Yukon?
D?
D.
It's numbered, it is.
No, so we're on E.
Can I go grab
It's a number.
Yeah, you got extra ones?
It's not that one. What the heck, I brought the wrong extra one.
That's all for science 10. Hold it. Because we did have extras. This is D.
You just forgot my binder.
Yeah,
Is this a new one?
that's mine.
Are we gonna get our test back at the end of class?
Maybe.
Is there someone who hasn't done it yet?
Posted though? Like, I should.
It's already posted.
No, when did you post it?
Last night. As soon as I was done marking it. So if you're one of those obsessive compulsive people that check it all the time, you were rewarded. Here's E.
But I checked it last night. What day is it?
Yeah, well, I was up late.
I just forgot my binder.
Okay. What's this one? That's the wrong one. And there we go. That's the right one. Okay. Now we'll turn into a little bit of a history lesson. If you can make ammonia, ammonia is really, once you have nitrogen captured from the air and it's in ammonia, you can now turn it into anything you like that's a chemical compound. Ammonia is reasonably reactive. You can turn it into nitrates and make it all the explosives you want. And you can turn it into nitrates and make all the fertilizer you want. You can also leave it as ammonia, and it can also be a fertilizer. It is an incredibly useful compound to have as a starting point for chemistry. Invented, as I said, by Fritz Haber. And I'm also going to talk about his wife, who should have some recognition, but we don't know how much she contributed to the process. Unfortunately, she married Fritz Haber, which was probably her most significant mistake in her life. She's a German chemist of Jewish descent. She was the first German female chemist to be awarded a PhD. She was, by all accounts, a fantastic chemist. You can imagine how good you would have to be to prove yourself in an area where there are no others. But she also suffered from the fact that she was living in a society with systemic bias against women in the workplace. So once she got married, she was kind of stuck. She couldn't get a job because nobody would hire someone who's married, because obviously you have to be at home to take care of your husband. Women's places in the home, that has been going on for a long time. My own parents, my mom, when she was married, was fired that day when she told her, she worked at a bank, she was a teller, when she told her boss, like, I'm getting married and we set the date, I'm so excited, and he said, great, and here's your notice as to when you're not going to be working here anymore. Because obviously you can't work if you have a husband to take care of. So once she was married, she had very few chances to do her own work. The reason she got married is because it's always been my attitude that a life has only been worth living if one made full use of all of one's abilities and tried to live out every kind of experience human life has to offer. It was under that impulse, amongst other things, that I decided to get married. The life I got from it was brief, and the main reasons for that was Fritz's oppressive way of putting himself first in our home and marriage, so that a less ruthlessly self-assertive personality was simply destroyed.
Lovely.
Yeah. When we talk about Fritz Haber's work, though, there's a decent chance it is also some of Clara's work, because the only chemistry she could do was then contributing to her husband's work. And we know that she did do that, we just don't know to the level of which it was involved. Afterwards, during their marriage, she became a pacifist and protested against Germany's involvement in World War II. Her husband was a decorated veteran of World War I because he is also the father of
Where's that?
chlorine gas, chemical weapons. So he invented the chlorine. Now it's not chlorine gas, but it is a type of chlorine gas. It's not strictly bleach either, but it's a chlorinated gas. It gets into your lungs, it inflames your lungs, and then your lungs, when they're inflamed, produce liquid. And so you fill up with liquid inside of your lungs and you drown on dry land. Descriptions of it moving across the battlefield, it's a thick, oily, yellow smoke. It would cover a plant, and the plant would like shrivel up and be brown and die. Birds would fly into it and then immediately hit the ground and die. It's like, it's what you would imagine like Mordor would be if you walked into Mordor and how the plants and everything would look. It was horrific. He was also thought to be a bit weird by the other German soldiers, generals, because that was a little extreme even for some of them, but he really wanted to do it. Like, I cannot overemphasize, he was really keen on chemical warfare. Like, no, this is going to be the way, we all got to do this, this is fantastic. And likely some of that was also supported by Clara. She did eventually commit suicide, and they had an argument. She committed suicide, died in her son's arms, and when her husband, Fritz, found her, he was like, okay, and then left immediately the next day to go to the front at the Second Battle of Ypres and unleash gas on the Canadians. And by all accounts, it didn't really bother him. He didn't seem to suffer any traumatic effect of her passing, and it didn't really change his mind. His son eventually also committed suicide, and as we're going to find out, because this is World War I, the entire family is Jewish, and that's going to have some other effects. So he goes off to oversee the Second Battle of Ypres. This is a famous battle for Canadian troops and for chemical warfare, because it was the first use of chemical warfare. The Canadians actually fared better than the French and the Algerians, because the Canadians immediately identified that this is chlorine. And they identified it because it tasted like our drinking water. So if you grew up in like a civilized part of the world instead of the wilds of Canada, you probably had drinking water that didn't have nearly as much chlorine in it. We're rural, lots of rural towns, lots of areas where our water is not necessarily that great and not well filtered, so a ton of chlorine was being used to make sure it was safe to drink. And so the Canadian troops quickly identified this is chlorine. They covered up, they tried what they could do, and they actually we lucked out that first part of the battle. But it didn't last for very long, because we then had to, I say we, but like not me, but like Canadians, because I don't think my family was even in Canada at the time. There's no we there. In fact, with the name of Neufeld, I may have had relatives on the other side. Anyway, actually no, my Neufelds were probably fleeing Germany in the Russian Revolution at this time. They were then the ones who were left to defend that particular area. They were enveloped on three sides, and chemical warfare was used again. And so at that point, the Canadians were quite wiped out. And then after, and I'm not saying this is connected, but right after this, Canadians developed a special reputation when it came to fighting German troops, and particularly German. Have you heard of the Christmas morning, and it all sounds like British troops would like exchange? None of the Canadians did that. The Germans offered a few times. We opened fire immediately. We have kill counts from those days, so we know it happened. The Germans offered cigars and brandy, here's what we got for Christmas, what you have, and we just shot them. There's one particular account of 5 of them crawling across the lines, can we give you presents? And we killed 2 and the 3 had to run back to the other side. We were nasty. And it all might be just because our first experience, Canada, a young nation, first experience in war, being gassed by the Germans. After that, not taking it anymore. Canadian Fred Hamilton has this quote. He was singled out for a beating by a German colonel. I only learned last year that colonel and colonel are actually the same word.
You didn't know that?
No. I thought colonel was some other rank pronounced differently in a different language. And colonel was a word that I knew how to say, but didn't know how to spell. After he was taken prisoner, his quote was, "I don't care for the English, Scot, French, or Australians or Belgians, but damn you Canadians, you take no prisoners and you kill our wounded." there's large sections of the Geneva Convention that's apparently there because of things Canadian did, because we would regularly kill the wounded. Like, there's no taking, just, you're down. You must be dead. Stab, 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 stab. There's a brief scene in what's that World War II movie where they're running it opens up on D-Day where they're running the beaches in France. There's a scene anyway that's cut out of there. Yeah, I don't think it's still in there, but I've seen clips of it, so I think it might be in an off like deleted scenes or something, in which they actually mention like, did this unit take any prisoners? Like, no, they all died. That's the Canadian unit they're specifically referring to. It's like it went into World War II. No Christmas truth. In fact, we threw food. And we threw food same time every day. Give them a little extra breakfast. And then grenades. As they come running for the food. No, but awful.
So bad.
We were also known for, again, Canadians, not me, nighttime raids. All countries did this at the start of the war. You'd sneak across enemy lines, and you would then go to where they're sleeping in their bunks and stab them while sleeping.
Oh my god.
And you can imagine waking up to that. Eventually, most of the countries decided, hey, this is kind of dangerous for everybody, and we don't really want to do that. So they all stopped, except for the Canadians. We became known for apparently going up to a kilometer. So you'd be like way away from the front. You think you're perfectly safe. You're about to go up to the front, and you wake up to a Canadian stabbing you. They would do this regularly. Before our famous battle at Vimy Ridge, where Canadians are known to have really shown themselves as a young country, there was 900 Canadians raiding every night on the weeks leading up to it. So they're going out just to demoralize the other side. And now we're considered polite by the rest of the world. We drink really bad coffee from Tim Hortons, and they think we play hockey. Maybe hockey is where we put out all the aggression. I don't know. Especially the hockey parents. So, Fritz Haber's use of chemical warfare might have actually had an effect on what we did in World War II as Canadians. Other researchers took his work and invented Zyklon B. So he invented Zyklon A. So World War I happens. He uses chemical warfare. He's given an entire institute by the German officials because decorated war hero, really good chemist. He had this idea that he would purify gold from seawater, and there's gold in seawater, tons and tons of gold. But on any individual sample of seawater, it's like parts per trillion. So not a lot of gold, but if you could figure a way to get just pump seawater through and just gather those little bits over time, you could theoretically mine the ocean. So he came up with, that never worked out, but he spent a lot of time on it in this institute. And during that time, they were inventing a lot of chemical compounds and adding them to sort of their library of stuff. One of them that he invented was Zyklon A. It was something they used as an insecticide because it was so good at killing things. But he added a protective smell, so that if you were like in a room, you smelled it, you knew to get out. And just added a little chemical compound on the side that would add a smell. They took that off the shelf in World War II, and like, oh, hey, look, this is a great compound. We'll remove the smell, and we'll call it Zyklon B, and that's the gas they used in the gas chambers. He had to flee Germany, obviously, in World War II as he was Jewish. So large amounts of his family was likely killed by the gas he helped invent. He died of a heart attack in exile. Nobody liked him because he invented a way to make more explosives. He is the father of chemical warfare. So finding a country that actually was willing to have him around was very difficult. There's some indication he might have actually committed suicide, but it's difficult to tell because sometimes places don't want to report a suicide, so they'll say things like heart attack. And yet, after all of that, he invented the process that's keeping 5 billion people alive today. Like, he has saved more human lives in human history than anybody ever. He has saved more human lives than any one person has ever killed, ever. Because he invented the way that we can feed, and food is based to that. So that process continues to happen. We keep getting fertilizer, we keep growing food, and we keep being able to go and go and go and go.
If technically, though, if more food means more people, which then, like if global warming
Isn't that
continues to
bad?
more people, wouldn't he kill even more eventually?
There's an argument for if you can support more. This is maybe more of a philosophical point, but expanding fast, you have more human lives who are alive. So if you have less people over a longer period of time, how is that better than a lot of people for a short amount of time? And a lot of people in a short amount of time may be able to solve that other problem. We've so far managed, in all of everything that we're doing with climate change and how bad things can get, we wonder, having a lot of people working on the problem is fairly useful. And we've managed to solve a lot of other problems. Now, some of it seems silly. I did see a report the other day, like, we invented a device that can capture carbon from the air. And I read about this like 5 years ago, and it was like, yes, you have invented a tree, only less efficient. And so, how useful is that? But about 6 months ago, I read one that they had a carbon capture device that could capture carbon about 800 times faster than a tree. Maybe that could come in handy. Maybe people will get it together and bang their heads together and actually like put nuclear power plants across the globe, and we'll decrease our CO2 and give us more. Like, there's lots of technological solutions scientifically. There are a lot of smart people working on it. If we're willing to do it, there's stuff we can do.
Yeah, but are we willing to do it?
That's the thing. The problem is not the science. We have lots of scientists who want it. The problem is politicians and people who vote. Because the people who vote, like, just imagine for the moment, when you meet people, like adults, not your peers, because you're all brilliant, of course. But when you meet adults and go, I can't believe how dumb they are. And then remember that if they're average, half of the people are dumber than that. And so when someone says, like, it's amazing, like 40% of people believe in conspiracy theory, I'm like, yeah, that's probably about right. Because that's 40% of people is like, that seems real. A lot of people fall for all sorts of things. So, and now we have a vested interest in clicking and advertising, and conspiracy theories have ways of generating ad revenue, so now it's monetized. Yeah, so the problem isn't the science.
What's your favorite conspiracy theory?
Flat Earth.
That's not a conspiracy theory, that's the truth.
So you're part of the 40% then who believe
What?
in Flat Earth.
Yeah,
I use your own argument against
what's
it.
going on? No, well, or you are. Like, hands up if you're a science teacher.
Percentage.
Oh, I win this argument. I mean, it's, why do you believe that it's not flat? Why do you believe it's not flat?
There's images.
Not just images though, they've tested it before.
How-
Flat
how-
Earthers tested it by they had like a cutout of like
Yeah.
a cardboard thing, and they had
Yeah.
a hole, and then they put it a certain distance apart, and they're like, if the Earth is round,
Yeah.
it won't show up, and if the Earth is flat,
Yeah.
then it will. And
Yeah,
it
but
didn't, the light didn't show up, so
Yeah.
therefore.
I'm not disagreeing that those people were idiots, but obviously the light wouldn't show up on a flat Earth.
Why not?
Well, you know what a black hole is, right? Yeah. What is a black hole?
Nothing.
Dark.
Yeah, but why is it black?
Oh,
Because
because
there's
light.
it pulls light in faster
Right.
than it can escape.
Pulls light, so no light escapes because gravity bends light, right? Does Earth have a gravitational field?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How
So
though?
would
If
you
it's flat, how would it have a gravitational field?
Earth doesn't have a gravitational field?
Well, if the Earth is flat though, how would it have?
I'm just does Earth have a gravitational field?
Yeah.
Yes, because
Yeah,
it's round.
okay. I'll deal with separate arguments afterwards, but Earth has a gravitational field?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So would you expect light to bend in a gravitational field?
But it would have to be over a bigger distance.
Yeah, so you'd have to go a little ways away, wouldn't you? Maybe to the horizon.
No, but they didn't go to the horizon.
No, they just went and they measured a slight distance.
Yeah.
You would expect it to bend by that slight distance.
No, but the hole was big
Well-
enough that it would fit through even if it bent even a
The
little bit.
hole is bigger.
Like the hole that they cut out for the light to go.
Let's watch it.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna watch it. But we would expect, light bends relatively easily in gravitational field, so we would expect to see that. So that doesn't actually, that's why when you're in space and you look at the Earth, it looks round because light is bending in the gravitational field. So the pictures are entirely accurate.
That's why Earth is fine.
So the Earth, well, I should also say the Earth is round and flat. It's round
Okay.
like a pizza pie.
What do you think is on the
How
other
many
side of
years-
the pizza pie?
I don't know. Unlike the globularists, I don't make things up. So
Well, then why do
you're the only one with your hand up.
So like the Earth is flat, okay?
Yeah.
But what about everything else? Are those those also flat or are they round?
Like what?
Like
Like
the
desks
sun.
and chairs?
No.
Oh no,
like
they're
Mars.
yeah, no. Mars is definitely it's a planet.
So Earth isn't a planet.
It's obviously it's the center.
Oh my.
Sorry, wait.
How many years have you been trolling people like this? Flat Earth.
I am not a troll. I was not there at the birth of the internet
No, I feel so.
when trolls first came into being.
I just wanna.
Yeah.
Sorry. So why are we flat but everything else?
Okay, have you heard of what a redshift is?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, all day, every day.
Next one. Have you heard of what the Big Bang is?
Yeah.
Right. So the Big Bang, it explodes. Everything's moving away. If you met a redshift, if something's coming towards you at a high speed, nothing can travel faster than the speed of light. Correct?
Yeah.
So if light is coming towards you, if you were running towards me and I threw a ball at you, then the ball to you should appear to be going faster than I threw it because you're also running towards it. But light can't do that. So what it does instead is that it changes its wavelength. So if you're going towards something, like if something's moving towards you and it's giving off light, its light will be blue shifted. Its wavelength will move towards the blue end of the spectrum in terms of Roy G. Biv. If it is moving away from you, it is red shifted. It lowers in energy. Okay? Like you can ask physics. I'm not.
Yeah.
This is the thing. So if we look at everything in the universe, other than like minor local events that are affected by different gravities, like our own galaxy, we look at all the objects. Everything in the universe is moving away from us.
Yeah.
So we are the center of the Big Bang. Obviously, we'd be a little bit different.
What? Just
Mine's
because
not
we're
on.
the center of
You
the
should
Big Bang
pull a
doesn't mean
physics
that
teacher in
we're
here.
different. Just because we're
So
Well,
the Earth is flat because we're the
we
sun.
are
flat.
unique in the universe. Go ask any physicist; they will say, "Yeah, everything around us is
Go grab
redshift."
Is that our
physicist.
no? That's our perspective, right? If you look from say another galaxy, wouldn't
It would look like they were moving away from us. Yeah,
but it's
Yeah, but where's the perspective?
we are the center.
Yeah.
No, it's
Grab
not.
a physics teacher and just see how this goes.
Oh, when I do ask if if you go ask the physics teacher, I think that's more entertaining. First of all, and two, if I ask them, they say, "Be quiet, I'm not talking."
let's bring in Miss Lawrence right now.
Yeah, let's go with Miss
No,
Lawrence.
I'm
She's
not.
lovely.
Ms. Lawrence will either sigh or hit me, so I'm not.
That
I'm not- oh,
sounds fantastic.
Okay, I'll give you a last one.
For why, like, when boats don't see water.
Oh, light bends the gravitational field, the tops of the boats being the last thing you see, is that what you're talking about?
No. Like, when you look really far, and it's kind of like, that's why people used to think you could go off the edge, because you can't see.
Wait, yeah, because light bends the gravitational field.
Okay, so what
So
about the
if-
North Pole though? What like people
Oh.
have been to the North Pole? So where?
Okay. South Pole, right?
Yeah.
Disk,
Yeah.
Canada, United States, North and South America, like Europe,
I can't see.
Isn't New Zealand like
Africa.
Wait, I can't see.
Isn't
Australia, New Zealand.
Oh wait, so New Zealand
Like,
does exist. I thought you.
where would
Flat Earth is-
China be there or something? I used to think that Korea and Norway were next to each other because that's where all the peninsula was. So my ability to put things on a map is not so good.
China just spawned
Okay.
there.
Yeah, always.
So the sorry, I also labeled this wrong. The North Pole is the center.
You just said it was south though.
I made a mistake. I was just writing. I forgot. And the South Pole is the circumference.
Then why is it south?
Now, again, number one, I say this to every one of my classes. Don't believe me. Go and check for yourself. I guarantee you'll find out the truth that way. And you can look all of this up. There has been countless voyages and planes and trips of people going over the North Pole. But if you track what they do when they go to the South Pole, they go like this, and then they go like that.
What?
And they go like this, and they go like that. You will not find a single voyage that does this, which makes sense on this model, but makes no sense on the globular model. Why would they be not permitted? The other thing is in the South Pole, there is the National Geological Survey of the United States. It is the only scientific body in the United States that is run by the U.S. military. They have a bunch of stations there. Now, if you do have a globular model in which the Earth is spinning, and that's the South Pole, and that's the North Pole, and you just put them, they're randomly assorted. But if you stretch them out and you put them on this model, they are exactly every 200 miles. And if you try and go too far, they will stop you and turn you back. Now, this is an international geological survey, so other countries join. Within 2 years of joining this random group that surveys the South Pole and does research, a country will achieve spaceflight.
Alright.
India joined, 2 years later, rockets going up. It's almost like having access to the edge is an advantage. Stop taking pictures.
Pictures of the amazing drawings.
It's amazing.
So I can show
So,
everyone
you're
else.
telling me-
Next!
You're telling
So
me
we're
doesn't
just spreading
exist.
the
Oh, sorry?
all of these people, so if there's this many bases, right?
Yeah,
How
there's
how
so many bases.
So many bases.
So many
right?
bases.
How many people are at
Somebody's
each
just
base?
spreading the message.
Probably a lot, yeah.
Maybe 100?
Yeah.
If they're that big, right?
Yeah.
How many people is that are basically like
Sitting at the
sitting
pool.
there knowing that
Oh, you think they know? You think the common soldier knows?
Okay, but even if there wasn't a common soldier, there'd still have to be like at least one or two commanders at the base who know about it, right?
As long as you have, soldiers are trained not to disobey orders. If they say don't go past this and stop people from leaving, they don't have to know why.
Also, this would be known to people, like there's been whistleblowers who have whistleblown on things that are like.
How many people today say I have evidence that the earth is flat and then you never hear from them again?
You just don't listen to them. They're still on the internet. You
It's
don't
almost
listen
like
to
there's
them.
this weird propaganda campaign to make sure you never listen. If there's a knock at the door and the next day I disappear, you know what happened to me. Okay, last one, just to make sure you're well educated. If this was the, now this, I'm going to go back to the globular model since you love it so much. If you were a globularist, and this is the Earth-Moon system, where's the high tide? What causes tides?
The moon.
The moon. So the moon. The sun is a little bit of an effect, but it's not like it's always so. So there's a high tide, and we'll ignore the sun for now. Right there, right? Look up in any textbook, because you would expect, oh, if the moon is doing that, then you would expect it to go like this and look like an egg with a yolk on one side. It does not. It actually goes like this. There is an equal and opposite tide on the other side.
Isn't that due to like the
I don't even
gravitational?
know
Like,
what, I don't understand what this diagram
Well,
is.
if the gravitational force that the moon is pulling on the water, you would expect all of it to be over there.
Your diagram isn't
Gravity
explaining well. Can you
3D.
re-explain?
What was it?
isn't that to do with gravity and like 3D and how it affects things? Like that's like high, isn't it higher level?
I mean, gravity isn't 3D, but gravity's still stronger where the moon is. Like that wouldn't change that, and it should pull it over. If you ask any physicist, you can look at my textbook. There is a moon. There is a high tide on the other side. You can look it up in the textbook. Go to physics.
Yeah,
It
but they
won't
don't know
explain
why,
it.
because they're physicists.
They won't. Like literally, your textbook won't explain it. They'll just draw it.
Is that an ovary?
Won't that just be normal force though from the gravitational pull that's going that way to that way?
That way, it's what?
Just have to cancel it
So
out,
so
right?
if the gravity is going that way,
Yeah.
then the normal force has to be this way, right, to cancel out. Otherwise, Earth is just gonna go that way.
Facts.
So what do you think Earth is going to do?
No,
Like
Earth
if-
isn't gonna do anything. It's just the normal force that goes that way.
What do you mean Earth? Okay, if you want to get more complicated, they are also moving, like, the moon isn't going strictly around the Earth, because the
Yeah.
Earth is also a little bit going around the moon because of that body. But it should still get the most of the water here, because that's what's actually causing it. Look it up in textbook. They'll say it's due to the moon. This isn't due to anything mysterious. They just don't explain that side. Now, I'm not, now,
They probably do.
Again,
It's just that they don't explain it in the text.
As I said-
it's not as high level as you.
don't believe me. Look it up yourself.
So this is really scary.
Also,
Yeah. Now, I want to be really clear. Does this prove that the world is flat? No. It just shows you. And I also know, and this is probably happening to a lot of you right now, which is, like, this is a flaw in the model. And it is a really critical flaw that you can't explain. It doesn't prove it. It just shows you there's something maybe wrong here. But there's something called the backfire effect, which is if I give you inconvertible evidence that your point of view is wrong, it's a deeply held belief of yours. We know from studies in psychology that you will just revert to your old belief even stronger. Like if you argue with someone who's absolutely sure that something is something and you try to convince them afterwards with facts and evidence, ever notice how they never change their minds?
Become more entrenched.
They get more entrenched? So all I've really done is made you believe in the globulus model even more.
Reverse psychology.
And
What you
you're
wanna do,
welcome.
reverse part.
Yeah, your hand has been up.
Quick question. So
Yeah.
you said everything goes around the earth, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
like the sun goes around
So
the
they're all
earth.
on Earth's
No, it's
gravity.
But not everything goes
Well,
around the earth.
why is it, but if the sun is bigger, why is it in Earth's gravitational pull?
Because we're the center. So everything's going, it's not that it's going around, it's not going around, it's not since the Big Bang, it's not going around the Earth, it's going around the center. That is its own property.
What? So it's
So
not,
there's
so it's
something
not,
else in
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
It's just,
Yeah,
What is it?
yeah. And the disc rotates around the center as well, like a record player. Yeah.
so it's not because of gravitational pull?
No,
it's
no,
just because
no. The center is also moving.
What about the sun's gravitational pull? How
At
is the Earth not-
accelerating at 9.81 meters per second squared.
So
That's where we
is
get
the
our
Earth
force of
the center,
gravity.
or is it in the center?
Pardon?
Is the Earth the center, or is it in
The
the center?
center is moving and taking us with it.
Okay, so it's not around the center.
No.
So why are we not pulled on by the sun's gravitational pull from the
Pardon?
center?
What?
So why are we not being pulled in the sun's gravitational pull from
The
the
sun,
center?
I don't even know, the sun is reasonably far away. And kind of small, it's about the same size as the moon.
I need a lot of
If the Earth is flat, right?
Pardon?
If the Earth is flat,
Yeah.
and the sun's light is just coming from there,
Yeah.
how is it night in India and day in Canada?
Right, so have you ever noticed that when you flick on the lights, it's a fraction of a delay before you see the light?
Yeah.
The speed of light is a lot slower than they've been telling you.
No.
No, but that's because
Yes,
it's
light
just- it has
takes
to go
8.5
through the
minutes to get to the Earth, so it should be
No,
only
no,
8.5
you've been
minutes.
told it takes that, but you have the observation that when you flick on a light switch, it takes a moment for the light to reach your eyes. You can measure that.
Okay, but I can make a circuit and do the same thing because it just takes time for it to, like, the way that the lights work. Don't you have to, I don't know.
You don't have to do it, you can do it with the incandescent.
Like, heat them up and
In
stuff.
a wire, and we teach this we used to teach this actually in Physics 10, it's not there anymore. The electrons, now we're back to chemistry, little negative balls in the wire, I'm gonna make it a super thin wire because I don't wanna draw all of them. They're all there, they haven't left, it's not a vacuum. As soon as you pump one in, one pops out instantaneously. There should be no
Yeah,
delay.
but it's because it goes to these types of lights. It has to like go through.
Do it on old incandescent light where there isn't a delay.
Like I've done it in.
Do it with
We
LEDs.
did it in Science 9. We had like a little circuit.
Yeah.
And the second you hit the battery, it
Yeah.
immediately turns on. There's no delay.
If you do it from across the room, there will be a delay. Because you've seen it in your room and you have LED lights in your room. You can redo it. But I know that when you have a firmly held belief, you don't want to trust the evidence of your own senses.
Stop trying to get us to question whether or not the Earth is flat or
Can you
not.
explain to me why the sun is the same size as the moon, or is it just gonna be because I can see?
Okay, now everybody's heard of a solar eclipse, in which the moon perfectly blocks out the sun, and you believe like, oh, it's just a coincidence, they're exactly the same size, but one's really far away. No, they're way closer, obviously.
So they're really close to the same size.
Yeah, yeah. The sun is only a little bit farther away than the moon. Yes?
If the Earth is flat, right?
Yeah,
And you watch a sunset,
yeah.
if you're standing here and I'm standing here, just same point, different elevation,
Yeah.
then if it's flat, technically neither of us should be able to see the sun after it sets,
Hold on,
right?
what? Yeah,
Okay, if this is the Earth, it's flat.
okay, yeah,
The sun sets, say, here,
yeah,
and you're standing right here.
yeah,
I'm standing same place here, but
Yeah.
higher elevation,
Yeah.
right? So if it's flat,
yeah.
neither of us should be able to see it after it sets.
Why neither of you?
Because
Because it would go underneath
it
the
just
Earth.
goes under.
No, you'll both see it go down, just at different times.
No, you see it go down, right?
Yeah.
But when it does, when
Yeah.
it sets, neither of you can see it, right?
Yeah.
But if it's
Well,
round,
but that you not seeing it happens at different times as well.
oh,
No,
Right.
but if you're high enough up, it should be the same, right?
If you're high enough, why?
Like-
You're
No,
further away if you're
no,
higher up.
there's not a big difference. And there's only like a slight difference in both of our elevations.
We spent these.
So then it goes down if it's flat at the same time.
Yeah.
But if it's round, I see it until later than you do.
Yeah, because it's much further away. If you're way, it doesn't, if you're way up, you will see it at a little bit different times, yeah.
Can we ask
If I'm just
ChatGPT?
standing on the desk.
Ask
or on the
ChatGPT
ground.
if the Earth is
Yeah,
flat.
but say, okay, you're talking about mountains, I'm assuming,
Oh, I
not
guess,
just
sure.
on the desk
Sure.
or something.
Yeah,
Because it's a fair distance away.
yeah.
And so, and there is a slight difference between the two, exactly as we would predict.
Well, there's a larger difference if it's ground though.
Mr. Newfeld.
No, the difference is about what we'd expect for a flat Earth, especially given that light bends.
Yeah, but that's
Mr. Newfeld.
I
that's
think,
going
I think,
to-
okay, here's
what's
the
your
part I
argument
think
to
you
go?
keep getting caught up on.
Let's ask
One second, because I
ChatGPT.
have to finish with that one.
I can have to.
You have
I'm
already
asking.
agreed that light bends in a gravitational field, right?
To light
Okay,
bends, but
So
how much
in your model that you're using right now in your head, are you assuming that the light is traveling in a straight line?
Yeah.
So you're making a mistake.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. You're welcome.
Let's ask
Yeah.
ChatGPT holds true, so let's ask it.
I argued with ChatGPT over the name of a cobalt chloride because it was so stupid it didn't know.
So
I don't trust ChatGPT at all.
I trust ChatGPT.
you keep saying,
What's it say?
so if the Earth is flat,
Yeah.
then it has to be this because
Yeah.
the Earth
It's
is
a satellite.
Aren't you
imagery.
going into all of your experiments expecting the outcome to be the Earth is flat, which therefore creates a potential bias?
It absolutely could be.
Why does
Now, when it's not like I was born knowing it was flat, but if you go outside and you look into the ocean, you look where it is, it looks flat, right?
Could it be like a
First
It's
evidence.
flat.
But you were
like a
told
cut
in
and
school
pass here?
it was round.
Yeah, but it's flat.
And you're also now starting to realize that people might have lied to you. And now you're questioning, I might certainly have a bias, but I think you have to, turn the mirror around a little bit.
Yeah, but then you're just
Go.
Go to Mount Everest.
basically disproving my point.
I'm talking about Everest.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. If evidence came along,
Yeah,
I would instantly change my mind.
Yeah.
But there is evidence.
So if you're saying.
Well,
So
there's,
why haven't you?
you are saying there is evidence, but you've just been told things that you believe.
So you're saying we didn't go to the moon?
How can
No, I'm not crazy. Yep.
say? Okay, so what if?
Do you know how hard that, anyway.
You know how many plans they had to draw?
Yeah.
You have to draw.
You'd have to do it on site in order to successfully fake it, yeah.
So if we say bought you a plane ticket, you know the like Virgin Galactic rocket or
Yeah.
whatever, and you went up and you did like a full circle,
Yeah.
circle around the Earth,
Yeah.
would you then believe that the Earth?
Okay.
was
Like
Now-
a diagram.
Now, first of all,
Back to the
No, back to the diagram. South Pole, right, South Pole.
There's some every 200
Okay,
miles still.
so, does flying around the Earth prove that the Earth is globular?
No, you fly this way.
Yeah, I know that, but if you're going to say get in a plane and travel west,
Explain this.
and you're using a compass,
Wait, let's see.
you've got a picture with a lens.
What if you went on a straight line?
No, just 1 second. If you have a compass and you go west and your compass is pointing north, and then you continue going west and your compass is pointing north, and you continue going west and your compass is pointing north, you are going to go in a circle on this
Yeah,
map,
but you're
right?
not going directly.
What if you went north to south?
Yeah, no, I know, but I'm just saying you would go in a circle, right?
Yes.
Right. So this type of voyage, we know, will generate a large circle. You might not even be aware that you're turning, but you'll go around. So lots of people have done that and go, ooh, it's round. But obviously they're wrong. Now, yes, I've already said, if you did that, that would absolutely prove it. It's really weird how nobody has ever done that.
But you're not
Why-
for the
how do you know
circle. You're
that?
not traveling in. east
Look,
and west.
there's been all travel. They'll say like, oh, we went to the South Pole. Mark their travel on a map, on a globular map, and let's put it on a let's say this is the South Pole. They will all do this. They will not go and emerge on the other side. They won't do. They
So
won't
what
go
if-
like that.
What if I paid for a plane ticket for you to go on like the rocket ship and say go south to north and
Yes.
that will create
That-
the
that
flow?
would prove it.
Then would
Yeah.
you believe it? Based on your
Absolutely,
experience?
absolutely. But you don't have to pay for me. You can do it yourself.
Yeah,
Because
but then you wouldn't believe me.
no, I would believe you.
No, you wouldn't.
I would.
You would say your experiences may be wrong.
The reason I don't want to go is remember the military bases that are going to stop you or possibly shoot you down. I don't want to be in that thing. You can get shot down. Yes.
Why would I fly to India from here, right? Why do I go, instead of going like this, why do I go like this?
Because again, the flat earthers you're used to usually do something like this, right? The flat earthers you're used to usually make a square map This is a radial map, and so distances do radiate out, much similar to the globular model. So you will have curved paths that look not correct on a flat map. But as soon as you put on this map, it's the most efficient route.
You're an imposter among the flat earthers.
Yeah, so you're the like 1% of the 40% page. According to your point, you're like,
No, like there are people who recommend things that may be true, but they are completely out to lunch. Any health guru will say like you should eat healthy, you should exercise, have more veg, have more fruit. But then they'll say like, ooh, you shouldn't eat grapes because of pesticides, and they'll come up with like a lot of wacky theories about farming that is off the rails. And like you should cleanse your body. It's like your liver and kidneys cleanse your body. Like they have a lot of bad beliefs. But they're still giving good advice about eat more vegetables and eat more fruit. So yeah, the flat earthers are right, but they're right kind of by accident. Yeah.
Yeah, so for the, what's it called, the circle, that's east and west, right?
If you're going around like this, yeah.
Yeah, why, that should be east and west, because if you're going.
So if you're going
Isn't there a
south,
90-degree.
yeah. So if you go straight south, and you hit this, and you go to like to the South Pole, you know, the little South
Yeah,
Arctic.
so if that's.
Yeah,
Then
yeah.
this would be.
Yeah.
That's changing.
But we don't travel by angles, we travel by compass. And if you're always pointing north, that's going to turn you. Right? Yeah. Like that's just how it'll work. And are you gonna measure the angle on something that's hundreds of kilometers as you're traveling? No.
Of course.
That's not how they're doing it. We don't have dead reckoning. We have compasses. And now we have satellites that will do exactly the same thing.
yeah.
Why is everybody packing up?
This morning I'm like, oh, it's gonna be a good day. I'm like, wait,
We got 2 minutes? Yeah.
We have 2 minutes.
No.
We don't. Actually,
Look at that
I have
reaction.
one more
we're not
question.
supposed to
No.
back up till
One more.
notice.
One more. One more.
So
No.
go
No.
about the
We're
clock.
not supposed to start backing up.
You didn't run out the clock.
I have a question.
Yeah?
What about Felix's?
What if the earth was square?
No, I'm not doing it anymore.
why?
Stop it.
What if it's
Cylindrical.
What if it's a donut, like a donut shape?
Oh, that's a good point. No.
Yeah, a donut.
Yeah.
No, it's like
No.
There's a hole in the middle.
No.
What if it's a donut?
With this reaction,
Hold on.
That's what
What is
I may require this as a ticket out the door.
What is CO2?
no.
So stop talking.
It's like a giant like chemistry bottle.
This might be a ticket out the door. So the question is,
How are you gonna stop us?
What is CaCO3?
Calcium
Hey,
carbonate.
mister, you
Wait,
fell.
what's
Hey,
CaO?
so kick it in.
What's CaO?
Oh,
With respect,
Looks like
minute stop, please.
What's K2?
With respect to pressure, temperature, surface area, what type of system, what can we do to make sure this reaction goes to the right, this equilibrium?
Increase.
Hey, oh, shucks.
Sucks. Have a good break.
Shoot.
Thank
Enjoy. Remember, I didn't actually change your mind, and you're still okay. Because you still believe what you were told, like little